I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to a bonus episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. This week, I'm going to be giving my predictions on the 2023 Golden Globe nominations. But if you're new to this channel, what I do every single week is pick an Oscar category, break it down into what I think is going to get nominated, and then also just give some of my predictions and thoughts and possible contenders. I've been doing that now for multiple weeks now, and in total, a total of 7 seasons, 6 full years. And every year we like to do these bonus episodes, whether it be reactions or predictions to award shows. We're going to be doing this upcoming for when the Critics' Choice nominations happen, and react to those and then predict those awards. We're also going to be predicting the Golden Globe winners once that happens. But of course, it's all about the award season. It's all about the big one at the end, the Oscars. Now, I do want to say at the top of this video that when predicting the Oscars, the Golden Globes aren't always the best precursor. The Golden Globes are completely different members in the Academy. You have about 100 people voting in the Golden Globes versus thousands in the Academy, so they're really not great corollaries. Just because the Fabelmans may win for Best Film Drama here doesn't mean it's going to win at the Oscars. That being said, they're still an award show. They're still fun. We didn't have them last year at televised. They're back. Gerard Carmichael's going to be hosting, so there's going to be a little bit more of a buzz and attention towards it. And because it's going to be an important part still of the award season. I mean, these are televised speeches. Oftentimes the speeches can actually influence the Academy and their voting because it's so early on. I think that the Globes do still serve some purpose, and they still are a fun award show that, you know, for us awards fans, it is still something that we're interested in tuning into, to seeing what they appreciate and what they don't. So without further ado, here are my predictions for the nominations of the 2023 Golden Globes. We're going to go through every single category, not a whole long analysis on each one, but just sort of my thoughts in general. It's going to be a long video though, because I am going to cover the best animated feature and best film in the non-English language, and some of the more smaller categories that not other people and pundits do. Now, jumping into my predictions, my first category is Best Film Drama, and my first pick is The Fabelmans. This won the People's Choice Award at TIFF, which has a very strong correlation between getting nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars and winning that award. Oftentimes, winners like Green Book or Nomadland end up winning Best Picture, had also won the People's Choice Award, so that's a strong side from The Fabelmans. The Globes love Steven Spielberg. No one else could have made this movie. I expect that to get in. My second pick is going to be Elvis. I think this is going to really resonate with Golden Globe voters. They've shown strong appreciation to these sort of musical biopics and biopics about musicians. They really liked Bohemian Rhapsody before anybody else. They really liked Rocket Man, so I do think Elvis, with that sort of longer release, with that sort of Baz Luhrmann tour factor, I think there's going to be a strong appreciation, particularly within the Globes, within Hollywood, because they like these kinds of movies, and this is a well-executed version of that that's being campaigned smartly. My third pick is going to be Top Gun Maverick. Generally, the Globes, speaking, are more populist, so they like the more sort of bigger movies. You know, they'll nominate a Black Panther or a Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, they'll even nominate a Borat 2. You know, they're not sort of too snooty about that sort of stuff. So Top Gun Maverick, the #1 movie of the year, super crowd-pleasing, really enjoyable movie. I'd be surprised that, you know, if you've seen the movie, most people really like it. It has a very high approval rating, and I think that most people, particularly the Globes voters, will be sort of hard-pressed not to vote for it, at least for the film, because it's such a rousing, entertaining kind of a movie, and that appeals to more of their populist desires. And then my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Woman Talking. This is very much a classic prestige movie in the sense that its themes are serious and topical, but are executed very well and feel relevant to the times. And Sarah Polley is a great director and has done a terrific job here with Woman Talking. And while I do think that there may be some people that don't always love the movie, I think there's going to be a general level of respect of the craft of how the story was told and the importance or seeming importance of the film. And I think that sort of prestige, highfalutin element where, hey, the Globes, they've got their blockbusters, they got Elvis, they got Top Gun, let's still go with the critically acclaimed sort of award season movie, go with Woman Talking there. And then my fifth slot, I went with Tar, and I'm not 100% sure they're going to like this movie. It does seem a little bit kind of arty, where the Globes are a little bit more of a populist taste. That being said, they have given awards to Power of the Dog or Moonlight, so it's not like they're super against more of artistic art house kind of a movies, but this one is a very entertaining one, at that, a thrilling one, an interesting one. It's a bold kind of a movie, which I think they will appreciate, at least from the director's perspective. And when I'm looking at my other options, they could go with something like The Woman King, but they've already had their blockbusters in Elvis and Top Gun. Will they want to nominate for that third blockbuster in The Woman King? I don't think so. I think they go for another sort of critically appreciated kind of a movie and nominate Tar. Now jumping into Best Actress Drama, my first pick is going to be Cate Blanchett from Tar, the performance of the year. She's totally dominant as Lydia Tar. People walk out of the movie thinking that Lydia Tar is a real person, which I think is just a testament to Cate Blanchett's performance and how the film is designed really around her. She's a legendary actress who's won Golden Globes before. She will get nominated. Then my second pick, I'm going to go with Michelle Williams from The Fabelmans. Really the key part of The Fabelmans. I think you have to have a certain level of empathy and sympathy for that character if you were to understand and sort of appreciate the whole movie. And she is, at many points, the strong emotional core of that movie. So because we know that The Fabelmans is well liked, I expect a lot of people to also appreciate Michelle Williams. Plus, she's been nominated a bunch of times, even more so at the Golden Globes than she did at the Oscars. Let's not forget, she also got nominated for All the Money in the World at the Golden Globes when she didn't get nominated for that movie at the Oscars. So she is a well-appreciated member, even winning for something like My Week with Marilyn. Very well-appreciated member of the Globes. She should get nominated. Then my third slot is going to go to Viola Davis for The Woman King, another very well-appreciated member and past winner of the Golden Globes. On the TV side, from How to Get Away with Murder, but also on the film side. And the Globes usually appreciate movie stars rather than just whatever the best acting performance of the year is, and Viola Davis is a true blue action movie star in this movie, and I think they'll appreciate that factor. And then my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Danielle Deadwyler for Till, a sort of dark horse to even potentially win in this category, but I do think she will get nominated. Even though the film isn't getting sort of general support, she is the sort of core of that movie and brings a really emotionally honest and devastating kind of performance. Yes, it's somewhat big at times and it allows her to really sort of go for it, but she's very excellent at executing that. Plus, if she's still a relative newcomer. She's not necessarily young, but I think a newcomer to a lot of people. You may have seen something like Station 11 or The Harder They Fall last year, but she really breaks out as an actress and wows a lot of people. And the Globes usually like those newcomers that wow people. Think of Tahir Rahim for The Mauritanian a few years ago, or Andra Day for The United States versus Billie Holiday. They like these sort of brand new newcomers who come out of the woodwork and go, wow, here I'm announcing myself. And Danielle definitely does that with her new movie Till. And then in my final slot, I'm doing a similar sort of thing. I'm going to go with Naomi Ackie for I Want to Dance with Somebody. Now there is a little bit of suspiciousness in the sense that the movie hasn't been as well promoted as I thought it would be, which generally indicates that maybe the quality of the movie isn't as great as a lot of people want to be. That being said, from the trailers and from what we do have know and buzz around town is that Naomi Ackie is really great as Whitney Houston, looks like her, sings like her, and we've seen that sort of a type of performance be well appreciated at the Globes before, whether it be, Taron Egerton for Rocket Man or Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. They like these kinds of performances. Andra Day for United States versus Billie Holiday. These are all past winners. So I think because they like that style of performance, Naomi Ackie makes the most sense to, even if the movie's not great or they don't love the movie, in the same way United States versus Billie Holiday didn't get a whole lot of love, but still Andra Day won. I think similarly, Naomi Ackie should get enough momentum and buzz to at least get that nomination in that critical fifth slot, because the Globes are still a little bit more favorable, particularly to newcomers, but also particularly to younger actresses and actors in general, compared to something like the Academy. Then my next category is going to be Best Lead Actor in a Drama, and my first pick is going to be Brendan Fraser from The Whale, the latest Darren Aronofsky movie, and in many ways resembles, I think, The Wrestler, which was another Darren Aronofsky movie, which was starring a sort of comeback actor, acclaimed actor, sort of dismissed actor. In the case of Mickey Rourke, Brendan Fraser is in a similar light, although he just sort of fell out of public favor and now sort of having a bit of a comeback. And if you remember The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, he actually won the Golden Globe that year because of that story, because of that narrative. And while I'm somewhat dubious of narratives, I'm trying to be more cautious of that this year, because in past years, these sort of quote-unquote narratives haven't been playing out. That being said, narratives in the sense that, narratives in the sense that Brendan Fraser, he's coming back, is this great story, he gives this great performance, I remember how much I missed him, and, there's sort of an outside narrative aside from the film that makes you want to vote for him. Those don't always matter necessarily in the Academy, as we've seen in recent years, but they do matter in something like the Golden Globes. Why? Because there's only 100 or so voters. You can quite literally, physically meet every Golden Globe voter and shake their hand and have a conversation with them. You can do that campaigning, and so those narratives are more easily built that way. So that's why I think Brendan Fraser has a strong chance of winning this award, at least at the Golden Globe stage, because of this sort of very sympathetic, heartfelt performance in The Whale, and because of that extra narrative of the comeback. Then in my next slot, I'm going to go with Austin Butler from Elvis. We talked how I think Elvis is going to be a well-liked movie, and the same way Naomi, Ackie, they love the sort of young newcomers. Austin Butler fits the mold exactly in the same way that Rami Malek did for playing Freddie Mercury, exactly the same way that Taron Egerton did when playing Elton John. Austin Butler, even younger than those two were at the time, playing Elvis, this iconic rock figure, I think will resonate to more of the older members of the Golden Globes. They are a group that usually skews older. It's just a perfect example of a movie they like and a great performance that's Austin Butler is really the central performance of the film. I think he's going to be very well celebrated. Then my third slot, I'm going to go with Bill Nighy from Living, which I think will be sort of an established legacy kind of appreciation for a movie that once again is centered around him and his performance, and does have a sort of appreciation of this legendary actor kind of coming, he's never been recognized before, but finally given a real true lead performance, and the movie based around very much him and his life and his legacy, and I think that will sort of bleed into people's thoughts about Bill Nighy himself, and therefore want to nominate the movie. Then in my fourth slot, I have an interesting one. I'm going to go with Jeremy Pope from The Inspection. Now, if you haven't been sort of following and have your ear to the ground as much as I have, you won't maybe know too much about The Inspection, but The Inspection has been having a lot of buzz around town in Hollywood. It has this big sort of premieres. It's actually had quite a bit of money behind it, and there's a lot of sort of buzz behind it. Even if the movie hasn't been as well celebrated as we thought, there has been a considered campaign behind this movie, so you don't want to forget about that. And once again, the Globes do like to recognize these sort of brand new young actors. That's a continued pattern that they've liked to do, and I think Jeremy Pope does sort of fit that mold, playing a young man in the military, dealing with sort of relevant themes of toxic masculinity and sexuality. So there's a very sort of relevant kind of a movie, and he's terrific in that movie. And once again, a movie that's centered around him being the sort of main weight and stronghold behind the movie. And they have been doing a lot of press and a lot of sort of campaigning in that regard. So don't be surprised if Jeremy Pope gets in for The Inspection. And then in my fifth slot, I'm gonna go with Tom Cruise from Top Gun Maverick. This category is maybe my least confident category because I'm not really confident in anybody. I didn't want to go with Hugh Jackman for The Son because I don't think a lot of people are going to like that movie, but they like Hugh Jackman, so maybe. Ultimately, I went with Tom Cruise here just because I think they'll like Top Gun Maverick, and the campaign really hasn't started for Tom Cruise. We're sort of waiting. He should be a little bit more present, but of course that's sort of the debate of he doesn't always like doing the press because of sort of the Scientology and some questions that he's maybe forced to answer about that. So he tries to sort of avoid it and just worry about his movies. So his press tour, in the sense, and Oscar campaign really hasn't started, even though we think it will. So there may be some hesitance here to nominate him, but I think they nominate him just based on the fact of the strength of the movie. And if you like Top Gun Maverick, he's the central star of the movie. He's the reason why you like that movie. And the Globes do, more than any other group, appreciate sort of the traditional movie star. Let's not forget, Tom Cruise's last Oscar nomination was in 1999. But Tom Cruise's last Golden Globe nomination was in 2008, 2009. He got nominated twice after his 99 nomination for Magnolia. He got nominated for 2004 as The Last Samurai, but he also got nominated for Tropic Thunder. So the Globes do like him a little bit more than the Academy, so I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of, decide to move away from some of that awkwardness and reward one of the best actors of the year in the biggest movie of the year. Then Best Film Comedy. My first pick is going to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once. I expect this movie, which is strange and weird, but also sort of emotionally resonant, to be very well received within the Academy. Incredibly creative movie, visually stylistic movie, high approval rating. People really enjoy this movie. It has a sort of crowd pleasing kind of a factor. And I do think right now it's a sort of number 2, number 3 potential winner at the Best Picture award at the Oscars. So if it's a serious contender there, it has to very at least get nominated here. I could see some of the older members being a little bit too weirded out by it, but ultimately I stand by the fact that I think, yes, it's crazy, yes, it's weird, yes, it's strange, but it's still emotionally clear and emotionally resonant, and the themes are connecting in a strong way that I don't think you can walk out of that movie and go, I just didn't get it. At the very least, the emotional connection, emotional core of that movie is strong enough for you to feel positively towards it. Then my second slot, I'm going to go with The Banshees of Inisherin. Martin McDonagh's last film, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, really dominated at the Globes, winning for Best Film Drama, and then doing well in terms of announcing Frances McDormand as the lead actress, but then also Sam Rockwell as the frontrunner for Best Supporting Actor, which not a lot of people had at the time, getting in for smaller nominations too, like Best Score. It showed that it was a real sign and a real strong movie within that year. And then if you even want to go back to earlier Martin McDonagh films like In Bruges, which got 2 acting nominations and a Best Film comedy nomination. The Globes really like Martin McDonagh. Now he has another movie which has strong campaign behind it in Searchlight, which has strong reception out of Venice and critical reviews. I think a lot of people are going to really resonate with this movie, and the Globes in the past have shown to really like McDonagh's movies, and this is one of his best, so I expect Banshees of Inisherin to do very well at the Globes, including in Best Comedy here. And then my next slot, I'm going to go with Babylon, which is pretty much what we thought it would be, sort of a big, loud, crazy, maybe even crazier than we thought kind of a movie. It will be divisive, so some people may not vote for it, but the people who love it will really love it. It has this sort of big premiere, this glossy, 3-hour-long Hollywood epic, a love letter and a suicide note, as critics have established, but a fascinating movie nonetheless. And let's not forget, Damien Chazelle's last movie, La La Land, won 7 Golden Globes, which is the most Golden Globes ever given out. You know, certain movies, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, have won 6, but no movie has ever won 7 Golden Globes like La La Land. They love Damien Chazelle. And let's also not forget, they nominated Claire Foy for Best Supporting Actress in the year First Man came out, when she didn't get an Oscar nomination. They also gave the award Best Score to First Man and Justin Hurwitz, when actually that didn't even get nominated at the Oscars. So they actually went out of their way to appreciate First Man more than even the Oscars did at the Golden Globes. So I think there's going to be a strong appreciation for Damien Chazelle and his films, and that'll connect here to Babylon. Then with my 4th slot, I'm going to go with Glass Onion. Let's not forget the Golden Globes were actually early on the Knives Out appreciation. We just thought it was going to be a blockbuster movie, and then surprise, gets in for Ana de Armas for comedy actress, and then also gets in for Danielle Craig, and also for Best Comedy Film, the first original Knives Out. Of course, Glass Onion is the sequel to that Knives Out film and has a similar sort of high audience reception, great theater movie, and it's strong critical reviews, and Netflix doesn't really have a Best Picture contender this year. I think they're going to really push Glass Onion as their Best Picture contender. So if that has any chances, it needs to get some support here. The Globes appreciated the first Knives Out. I'd be surprised if they don't like this one. It has a similar sort of a style and vibe in terms of its reveals and its energy, so I do think that the Globes will appreciate the Glass Onion once again and nominate it here like the original Knives Out was. And then in my final slot, I'm going to go with The Menu. So here we go. This is my sort of big out on the limb prediction. I think The Menu will be the one surprise movie that the Golden Globes really like. Every year there's always a movie where we go, wow, okay, all the money in the world gets like director and drama and lead actress. That was kind of surprising. We do see some of these movies every once in a while get in and go, wow, okay, I guess they really like this movie. I think The Menu is a perfect kind of a Globes movie. It's still arty and prestige-y, but it has really sort of interesting themes, but not two themes that are sort of hard to understand, maybe like Tar, that are more ambiguous. They're clear and they're direct, and it's very funny and satirical, but seemingly, also very witty. This is from the director, Mark Mylod, who does a lot of episodes of Succession. Succession is a TV show that they've celebrated multiple times at the Golden Globes on the TV side, so I think there's going to be some parallels there as well. It came out at the perfect time, really late, right before Golden Globes votings, was a huge success at the box office, so a lot of people saw it and has a strong, audience reception and score. And, if I go for a movie like Triangle Sadness, it's like, well, that's maybe seems a little bit too cynical in that case. Bros was a well-liked movie, but it was a huge bomb at the box office. Do they want to support that? I think The Menu finds that perfect line of well-liked, easy to understand, funny, enjoyable kind of audience movie. But then also, it's a really fascinating box office success. So it's a strong sign of Hollywood in general. I think The Menu will be a strong contender here in this year. So I'm putting a lot of my chips on the Menu. Hopefully I'm right, but that's my sort of big gamble of the season. I think The Menu is going to get in here for its last slot. Then into Best Actress in a Comedy Movie, my first pick is going to be Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Gives a multitude amount of performances. She's never been nominated before. She's a legend in a movie that I expect them to be really well appreciative of. I expect her to get nominated here. My next pick is going to be Margot Robbie from Babylon. A crazy movie and an even crazier performance with Margot Robbie at the center. She plays the sort of dreamer, young actress who does it all, but still has a sort of grandiose, grand vision of what Hollywood is, can be, or at least what it is in her head. She is the it actress of Hollywood right now, the only really actress that can go toe-to-toe in a movie with someone like a Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio and still sort of hold her own and be an equal movie star. I think she is a lock for a nomination. Then in my third slot, I'm going to go with Emma Thompson from Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Now, some people may go, oh, I kind of forgot about this movie. That's because I think it's not eligible to get nominated at the Oscars, but it is eligible to get nominated at the Golden Globes, and this is one of Emma Thompson's best performances. And the Golden Globes have awarded Emma Thompson many times in the same way the Academy has, but even more so for recent movies like Late Night or Saving Mr. Banks, in which Emma Thompson didn't get an Oscar nomination. The Globes have been a little bit more favorable towards her in that regard. So I think they're also going to be favorable to her here, and one of, if not her best performances in Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. And let's also not forget that she's in Matilda, which is a big musical that's happening right now. A musical movie that's based on the musical, which is based on the movie, which is based on the book, and that property. So she's also in that, so she has some more awareness to go, oh, right, Emma Thompson, she's great. Oh, right, she was also in Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Let me nominate her for that. Well-liked actress in a solid performance, in a great movie. I think she'll get in. My fourth slot, and really this last two slots were really difficult. I ultimately went with one old and one young. So it's either Julia Roberts in Ticket to Paradise or Leslie Manville for Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I went with Leslie Manville. I think Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris is a similar film to like The Leisure Seeker when Helen Mirren got nominated, or some of these more sort of older voter-centric kind of movies. You could even say something like Michelle Pfeiffer from French Exit. It's a similar sort of path. I think that the older members of the Golden Globes will really appreciate this really heartwarming, genuine, sweet movie, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, based on a book that, you know, I'm sure they're well aware of. Leslie Manville giving an absolute delightful performance. There's going to be a lot of appreciation and support for that kind of performance, and not a need to sort of forget about that. So I do think that does seem like, you know, you cover the Oscars and Golden Globes for so long, it just feels like that kind of a surprise Globes nomination, a movie that they kind of like. So I think Leslie Manville, so charming in the movie as well, will get nominated. And then in my fifth slot, to continue in my menu love, I'm going to go with Anya Taylor-Joy for the menu. I was really sort of debating her or Keke Palmer for Nope. I think Keke Palmer could definitely get in. It's really tight right now, but I went with Anya Taylor-Joy because let's not forget she got nominated sort of surprisingly in Emma back in 2020. And then she also, of course, the same here, won and got nominated for The Queen's Gambit on the TV side. So she has been nominated and won before from the Globes. They have an awareness and appreciation of her. And in the menu, she is essentially this sort of pseudo-star, very compelling, and is a sort of audience surrogate, but also has her own scenes that she's really excellent in herself. So I think because she's a young actress, they're going to want to nominate, the Globes usually like to nominate these sort of younger actresses in a movie that I think they're going to like. In the case of The Menu versus Keke Palmer in Nope, I don't think Nope's going to get any nominations. So ultimately, I think that Anya Taylor-Joy, because of her past nominations, because they already like her and they respect her as an actress, and because I think they're going to like the movie, I think she slips in here. Then the next category is going to be Best Actor in a Comedy, Best Lead Actor in a Comedy. And my first pick is going to go to Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin. Colin Farrell has never been nominated for an Academy Award, but the Globes have nominated him twice for The Lobster in Bruges, so they do like him. They have appreciated the sort of a bit of a comeback post-Lobster of Colin Farrell being in these terrific movies away from sort of the traditional movie stardom that he once sort of occupied. And I think they'll really like Banshees of Inisherin. If you like Banshees of Inisherin, you have to like Colin Farrell being that central character, being the sort of dim-witted kind of a character on the island, but still having sort of this great heart of gold, and really easy to sympathize with him and empathize for him. I think there's going to be a strong connection, and I think he'll probably win this award. Daniel Craig in Glass Onion, I think, will also get nominated. They nominated him for the last Knives Out. I think they're going to nominate him for this Knives Out. Another performance here as Benoit Blanc, which is half intelligence, half lucky, half kind of dumb luck, but still sort of finds the mystery at the end of the day. And I think there's appreciation of Daniel Craig as a movie star, and likability within the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, but then also I think they'll like his movie. My third pick is going to go with Billy Eichner for Bros. One reason why I didn't put Bros in my best comedy films top 5 is just because I think when you think of Bros, you think of Billy Eichner. It's the same way with Forgetting Sarah Marshall or some of these past movies where it's Billy Eichner's writing it, he's starring in the movie. When the press was happening, it was all Billy Eichner, all Billy Eichner. It's more so his movie than it is the director, say Nicholas Stoller. Billy Eichner is very much the face of the movie. So if you like the movie, there's no real reason to sort of force yourself to put it in, say, the top 5 comedies, when you can just nominate Billy Eichner in and of himself and just say, hey, you were great. The movie didn't do as great as we thought and hoped, but valiant effort. We thought you were a great movie and you were great in it, so we'll put you in here for comedy. And I think there's sort of a established appreciation also from, his YouTube videos were very successful too, and Billy on the Street, that was a very successful series for him. So I think that the appreciation from fans from there, and then the appreciation of the fans from the movie will get him the nomination versus, say, the movie, because so much of the movie is him. So it's an easy way to go, hey, we like the movie, so we'll nominate you, but maybe not enough to get in just by itself. Then in my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Ralph Fiennes from The Menu. Once again, The Menu sort of appreciation here. I think they're going to really appreciate that kind of movie. And he is this sort of mysterious, elusive, demanding chef at the center. And I think actually Ralph Fiennes could get in without even the movie getting in because of his sort of a stature as an actor who has been well appreciated and nominated in the past. But then also because of sort of his interesting kind of and complex role at the center of the film. He's allowed a lot. He's given a lot to work with, and he executes at that very brilliantly, I think. So I think the Academy will appreciate him for that. And then in my last slot, I'm gonna go with Diego Calva from Babylon. This is not really the type of performance that gets nominated. I don't even think he's going to get nominated at the Oscars, but I have him here in my slot just because I think the strength of Babylon will be enough for him to sort of get in and have that sort of appreciation. They usually like to go with the sort of younger newcomer actors. Diego Calva fits into that box. So while I don't think his role is actually large enough or showy enough to get in, maybe traditionally, I think he'll ride based on the success and the strength of the film. Best Supporting Actress, I went with Carrie Condon from the Banshees of Inisherin. Once again, if you like the Banshees of Inisherin, I think you'll be impressed by Carrie Condon as like a wow, who was this? Supporting actors in Colin Farrell's Mark McDonagh's films have done well in the past. Look at Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards. So I think Carrie Condon could actually even win this award and show some dominance as a real contender and supporting actor. I think supporting actress, I think the Banshees will be well appreciated. Then my next two picks are going to be Jessie Buckley and Claire Foy from Women Talking. Betting on Women Talking once again to be a prestige movie that's well appreciated within the Globes and seen as a level of respect and respectability enough to get nominated, even if it's a horror movie to really love and feels like a Top Gun Maverick is a very easy movie to love. Women Talking is a little bit more complicated than that. That being said, they've nominated Claire Foy in the past. Jessie Buckley's a young, established, upcoming actress who's really one of the most exciting young actresses in Hollywood in acting today. So I'd be surprised if they don't nominate her. And for both of the actors, they're both the sort of most well-known actors within the movie, apart from Rooney Mara, but Rooney Mara's campaigning in the lead, so that's going to be hard for her to get a nomination. So it's an easy way to go, hey, we like Women Talking, it's an acting-focused movie, let's give both of them a couple nominations to show our support and get a couple of those categories. And when it comes to nominating two people from the same movie in the same year, the Globes don't always do it the exact same way as the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Sorry, the Globes don't do it the exact same way as the Academy. For example, they didn't nominate Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, but for the most part they do, and they do in different ways. So they'll nominate, last year, Kieran Hines and Jamie Dornan for Belfast, whereas the Academy didn't do that. And they'll still nominate Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone for The Favourite. So there is some overlap of that sort of dual nomination with the Academy and the Globes, but also sometimes they go their own way too. I think this is going to be a case of a similar dual overlap with the Academy, with both these young women getting nominated. Then in my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Janelle Monáe from Glass Onion. Once again, another sign of support for Glass Onion. If you've seen the film, she doesn't have a lot to do in the first half, but in the second half, she really sort of becomes one of the main characters, really, and does feel sort of like a cheat to say she's the supporting actress. She's very dynamic in the film. She's an essential part of the film, and particularly at the ending as well. So I think that people who have seen Knives Out, many of the Globe members I'm assuming have, will nominate the movie. And I think if you like the movie, you have to like at least a little bit of Janelle Monáe's character and her sort of I don't want to spoil the movie, but her sort of character arc is fascinating, and Janelle's able to do a lot with it, and it's kind of showy in many regards. So I expect her to get nominated for that. And then in my fifth slot, I'm going to go with Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, a lot of people early on in the season and still are going, hey, what about Stephanie Hsu? If you remember my supporting actress category, over a month ago now, I was sort of against Stephanie Hsu when that was sort of the untrendy thing to do, and then she's only sort of fallen out of estimation since, just because Jamie Lee Curtis has been really campaigning for this, and because Jamie's been campaigning for this, it's sort of knocking Stephanie Hsu out of the contention. Now, Stephanie could still get nominated, of course, but I'm going with Jamie Lee as a sort of sole representative from this movie. She's a very well-liked member within Hollywood, and I think will be well-liked within the Hollywood Foreign Press Association in general, because she knows so many people, and if she starts the campaign and decides to campaign, she will be appreciated for that. Plus, she's in a movie where she's really terrific in it, and it should be a very well-appreciated movie and a well-liked movie. So she's a well-liked person in a well-liked movie, giving a pretty great performance. So I think she gets in that for that last supporting actor slot. Then Best Supporting Actor, my first pick's going to go to Brendan Gleeson for the Banshees of Inisherin. I think he has a strong chance of winning this, even being out to like a Ke Quan, just because they like Martin McDonagh's films in the past. And Brendan Gleeson has been nominated for a Martin McDonagh movie in the past in Bruges, so I think he'll get in here for a very sort of mysterious, stoic, but terrifically done performance, and he is in many ways a sort of co-lead of the movie. He's being campaigned in Best Supporting Actor, so oftentimes when we're talking about people getting nominated in the supporting categories, it helps to have a lot of screen time. So when you think of the movie, you think of that person rather than see like a true small supporting character. So I think Brendan Gleeson makes sense there. And then, of course, my second pick, I already spoiled it, but I do think it's going to go to Ke Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Similar to Brendan Fraser, he has this narrative of being this kid actor in the Goonies and then stepping away and then coming back now and giving this great performance, sort of a welcoming back into Hollywood. I think the Globes sort of appreciate that. A great story, a great narrative, and then, of course, he's a very strong, sympathetic, emotional character within the movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which, like I said, I think will do well here at the Globes, so I expect him to get nominated. Then my third slot, I'm going to go with Paul Dano for the Fabelmans. I think if you like the Fabelmans, which I think the Globes will, they'll sort of automatically nominate the mom and the dad, Michelle Williams being the mom, Dano being the dad. He doesn't have as much of a showy role, so he may get forgotten because of that, but I think the Fabelmans is a strong enough movie that they're going to have to show some appreciation somewhere. It's going to get in screenplay, it's going to get in director, it's going to get in for film drama. I think if it's a really strong movie, it gets in sort of for this last slot here of Paul Dano, who is in a lot of the movie. Even though he doesn't have as much of a showy role, he is really terrific in the movie, and I do hope he gets nominated, but I think ultimately, you know, this is a guy who's also been nominated in the past, Paul Dano, at the Golden Globes, versus, you know, he's never been nominated at the Oscars, so they have at least shown some proclivity towards Dano, and I think that they'll once again show that here for the Fabelmans, now in a movie that I expect to be a serious contender. And then in my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Eddie Redmayne from The Good Nurse. Seems like a classic, kind of a Globesy, kind of saggy kind of performance. Very showy in a movie that wasn't super well liked, but it was very well seen, did very well on Netflix. Eddie Redmayne is a masterclass campaigner. We know that about him, so I expect him being able to talk to a lot of voters and schmooze them and have already a strong reputation of appreciation within the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. I expect him to at least get that nomination for The Good Nurse in a sort of a showy role, interesting, complex role that he does very well at. You know, think of this as like a Jared Leto in the Little Things nomination. Don't be surprised if Eddie Redmayne gets nominated here for The Good Nurse. And then in my final slot, I'm going to go with Barry Keoghan for the Banshees of Inisherin. For me, it was like, where do I want to place my marbles? Where do I want to place my bets? Do I want to place my bets on the Fabelmans and say Judd Hirsch is going to get in here? Do I want to place my bets on Women Talking and say Ben Whishaw is going to get in here? Ultimately, I went with Barry Keoghan, and I said I'm going to place my bets on the Banshees of Inisherin because of Martin McDonagh's past films doing well at the Globes and them liking them generally, plus the character of himself of Barry Keoghan being a young actor who they like, an up-and-coming actor, but also his character even more dim-witted than Colin Farrell's character, very sympathetic, kind of an abusive household, how we sort of stumble along. It's the first time Barry Keoghan has been sort of weird, but also truly sympathetic in many regards, and I think if you like the movie, he's sort of an underrated part of the movie, and I think they're going to really appreciate and support that support of the Banshees of Inisherin. So I think Barry Keoghan gets in for that final slot. Then in my best director predictions, my first one's going to go with Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. They like him even more than the Oscars do, nominating him for movies like The Post for Best Directing when he didn't get that at the Academy Awards. He's also the most nominated Globes director in history with 13 nominations. They really, really like Steven Spielberg, and they should like this movie. Very well appreciated movie, high critical acclaim. Making a movie he's always been wanting to make his entire life. I'd be surprised if he didn't get nominated. Then my next slot, I'm going to go with Sarah Polley from Women Talking. I think Women Talking, once again, will be a well-appreciated movie within the Academy. Also, in terms of diversity with female directors being represented, the Globes have been much more on the forefront than the Academy has. You know, even last year nominating Maggie Gyllenhaal along with Jane Campion for Best Director. They've nominated Regina King and Emerald Fennell in the same year, where let's say the Academy had only nominated Emerald Fennell. I mean, even going back to 2014 with Ava DuVernay and her nomination at Selma, they've been more considerate with nominating female directors. I think they're going to want to do that again and have that sort of representation within their group, particularly after some of the criticisms and lack of diversity that they had, particularly, I mean, more racial diversity, which had caused them to not air the show last year, but now sort of to come back and add more members and to change things. I think they're going to make a more conscious, diverse, representative effort with regards to that. So I think that Sarah Polley is the easy choice because I think the movie will be well liked and she's a great director, and I think they'll want to appreciate that and her different sort of directorial decisions and ability to build tension out of, there's people in a room talking. Then my third pick, I'm going to go with Daniels, the Daniels duo there for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Some people think they're not going to get nominated. I think, maybe they know something I don't, but for the most part, it seems to me like lazy analysis. I think for a lot of people, they think, every year in the Oscars and the award season, there's usually two movies. It's Green Book or it's Roma. It's Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, or it's The Shape of Water. It's Trial of the Chicago 7 or it's Nomadland. And I think for a lot of people, they go, oh, it's The Fabelmans and it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then they go, oh, well, the sort of number two in those races, Three Billboards, Trial of the Chicago 7, those movies didn't get nominated for Best Director. Therefore, Everything Everywhere All at Once is at the number two. It won't get nominated for Best Director. I think just stupid sort of conjecture, lazy analysis in that regard. Because if you've seen the movie and you think it's going to do very well at the Oscars, multiple acting nominations, I have 3, and getting in for comedy, well then why don't you have it in for Best Director? It's incredibly visually inventive. There's a strong visual style to the movie. There is a lot of directorial choices, a strong, unique voice behind the movie. So why not? Just because they're a directing duo, is that the only thing stopping you? There's certain sort of lazy arguments I think are being made that maybe go against that. I haven't frankly heard a convincing argument to a reason why they won't get nominated. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to have your predictions be continuous and cohesive. I'm not predicting Daniels in director and then predicting Everything Everywhere All at Once gets 5 other nominations. That wouldn't make any sense. If a movie gets 5 other nominations, it should also get in for Best Director. At least that's how the Globes have historically done it. So I think the Daniels should get in here for this third slot. Then in my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Martin McDonagh for the Banshees of Inisherin. Well, I think he could actually get knocked out at the Academy for Best Director. They did nominate him, the Globes did, for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. They like his movies and have shown appreciation for him in the past. And I think that they're a little bit more traditional with the Globes, this category. For Best Director, at the Academy, they'll go, hey, we're going to nominate, Drive My Car, and it'll get Director, and it'll get Picture, and International Feature, and that's it. Or they'll nominate Pavel Pawlikowski for Cold War, just like this one-off weird nomination. The Academy likes to do that, but the Globes usually are pretty traditional. If they like Trial of the Chicago 7 and it gets nominations, guess what? Aaron Sorkin's getting in for Director too. Even though he's maybe not the most flashy director visually, he still made a really good movie, so they want to appreciate that for Director. I think the Globes will do similar here, with the Banshees of Inisherin getting a lot of nominations and McDonagh getting in as well. And then my fifth slot, I really wanted to go sort of outside and go maybe Baz Luhrmann for Elvis or Gina Prince Bythewood for Woman King. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I wanted to go chalk. I've had a lot of sort of bold predictions in other categories. I wanted to go basic here. I wanted to go with Todd Field for Tar. The truth of the matter is that it's very rare for a movie to get nominated just for director and then it's film. Oftentimes it usually has an actor correlation or a screenplay correlation or something. That's why I don't think someone like a James Cameron could get in. And why I think Todd Field has a strong chance again, just because we're sure Cate Blanchett's going to get in. We're pretty sure it's going to get in for drama. And if it does do those two things, well then there's a strong chance, therefore by correlation, it gets in for Todd Field for director as well. And if you've seen the film, it is very much a director-focused, choice-based movie. There's a strong directorial vision of how he moves the camera, that slow-moving camera, and then some of the moral ambiguities, we'll say, within the film, and his ability to create this character. I think there'll be a strong sort of appreciation of that sort of artsy, auteur-esque element, but watch out for a Baz Luhrmann or a Damien Chazelle in this category. Best Screenplay, my first one's going to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Self-explanatory. I think it's a creative, unique movie, and it should be very well liked within the Academy. I'm going to go with that. My next slot's going to go with The Fabelmans, Tony Kushner, past Globes nominee, and There's a great story about, real life story of Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg also co-wrote the movie, so there's a sense of personal stakes and investment in that, which we've seen do well, particularly within the screenplay category at the Globes. The sort of personal connection to it, at least for a nomination. My third slot's going to go with the Banshees of Inisherin. Like I said, funny, witty, should be a well-liked movie, comedy. McDonagh's movies have done well in the past, even particularly within the screenplay category. 3 Billboards winning in this category that year when that movie did so well. Woman Talking being my 4th slot. I think this is going to be the frontrunner to win for Best Adapted Screenplay. It's all about people in a room talking, so the emphasis is on the dialogue. I think the movie is going to be well appreciated. It gets in there. And then in my 5th slot, Glass Onion, because they like the last Knives Out movie. This has a unique, creative, fun script with lots of twists and turns. I think the Globes will appreciate that. Best Animated Feature now. My first one is going to go with Pinocchio from director Guillermo del Toro, who they've awarded Best Director in the past for The Shape of Water. They like his movies. This is an easy way to nominate a great auteur in sort of a lesser category, less competition category, in this case of Best Animated Feature, and it's a movie that he's been wanting to make for his entire life, so it's great to see that sort of passion project fulfilled. Next slot is going to go to Turning Red. The Globes like Pixar just as much as the Academy does. If you want a full analysis of the animated feature category, you can go back to Monday's video where I talked about that. So the last video on this channel, you can hear more of my thoughts. Then in my 3rd slot, I'm going to go with Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I think this is sort of the weird indie movie that the Globes have appreciated in the past. They've nominated Annalisa, they've nominated Loving Vincent. I think Marcel the Shell sort of fits into that similar fact, where there's not going to be these huge animation nerds that say, oh, this is real animation. I think there's going to go Marcel the Shell, critically acclaimed movie, really heartwarming, adult-focused, and deep on a strong level. I think that will get in. Then in my 4th slot, I'm going to go with The Bad Guys. I talked about it on this Best Animated Feature episode, but DreamWorks has a strong reputation within the Academy. They very rarely go 3 years without a nomination. This will be the 3rd year of that sort of gap at the Oscar side, but even more so in the Globes. The Globes really love DreamWorks. They'll nominate The Bee Movie. They'll nominate Boss Baby. They'll nominate Rise of the Guardians. Movies that don't get attention at the Oscars. They'll nominate Croods 1 and Croods 2. The Globes really like these sort of big budget American, usually kids driven kind of movies. They appreciate those more than the Academy does. The Bad Guys is a prime example of that. Box office hit earlier in the year, but still DreamWorks' new kind of IP that I think will be appreciated. In the same way, my 5th slot, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, will be appreciated. Another DreamWorks movie. Frankly, I'm kind of hedging my bets by including both the DreamWorks movies in there, but I think one of them, at the very least, is going to get nominated. Puss in Boots has the benefit of being the movie that's released later in the year, so it has a little bit more top-of-mind awareness, but it's also a sequel, so maybe get some points deducted from that. And it's been such a while since we've seen the Puss in Boots movie that maybe people don't have as much attachment to the character. But that being said, it's a very critically acclaimed movie, surprisingly, and releasing very late here, so it has that top-of-mind awareness. Watch out for a movie like Strange World or My Father's Dragon, but I think they're going to go. The Globes usually go with sort of the more bigger budget kind of movies, like a Boss Baby, like a Trolls. So I wanted to pick at least one of these DreamWorks movies. I ended up including both of them. Best film not in the English language. My first one is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front. A brutal, intense, really well done, visceral, well-made movie on Netflix. Netflix doesn't have a Best Picture contender this year, so I think they're going to try to get as many nominations as possible in other categories. That includes All Quiet on the Western Front. They say some people may even campaign this in Best Picture in a certain regard because of how well the movie is. I think this can be a strong contender for winning at the Oscars for Best International Feature. I think it definitely gets in here. There's nothing necessary to criticize against it. It's just a really sort of powerful anti-war movie that's very well made, that has some of that name brand recognition based on the film, and which is based on the book. So I think there's going to be appreciation for the film. My next slot's going to go to Bardo. I think from the fact that this is from Alejandro Iñárritu, multiple directing Globe winner, multiple drama Globe winner in the past. He's a very well-respected member within the Golden Globes and within the Academy and award season in general. He has a new movie out, and while it doesn't have the sort of heights of maybe The Revenant or the Birdman, he should at the very least get enough recognition to get in for international feature and film not in the language category here. So based on his name alone, I think it gets in. Then my third pick, I'm going to go with RRR, the sort of surprise Tollywood hit of the year. Also sort of campaigned by Netflix as well. Netflix doing a lot of work here in the international feature category. But it's a very sort of rousing, crowd-pleasing movie, action-packed, musical, comedy, drama, all within one. If people see the movie, which I think the the Globe members ultimately will. But if they see the movie, they'll like the movie. It's a very easy to like sort of kind of populist movie which appeals to their tastes. That makes sense to me for it to get nominated there. Then my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Decision to Leave, the latest film from Park Chan-wook. A little bit uneasy about this because they didn't nominate Handmaiden, they didn't nominate Old Boy. That being said, this time I think it's a little bit different because not only is this a critically acclaimed movie from Park Chan-wook, but also I think that Mubi, who's the distributor behind the movie, really wants some sort of appreciation. They're a smaller streamer, but they really sort of went hard for this movie, and I think they're going to try to get as many nominations as possible, maybe even director at the Oscars. And if that's a real possibility, it at the very least needs to get a Golden Globe nomination for Best International Feature here. It's going to be South Korea's selection. And the Globes, usually when we're talking about this category, the Academy's International Feature category sometimes does weird stuff, essentially. But the Globes are pretty traditional in the sense that they'll nominate a Tony Erdmann or a Portrait of a Lady on Fire. They like to nominate movies that are critically acclaimed, film Twitter favorites, let's say. And Decision to Leave is very much in that realm, so I think they're going to sort of follow suit there. And then for my final slot, I'm going to go with Close. This is the Belgian film this year. I almost went with Saint-Omer, which is the French film, but I figured, you know what? Belgium, close enough to France. The reason why I almost went with Saint-Omer, which is the French submission for this year's Oscars, is because if you look at the past 10 years for the Globes in this category, 9 French films have been nominated in the past 10 years. 11 if you include collaborations with other countries. The Globes love French international features, so they could go very much well with Saint-Omer, but I went with Close because it premiered at Cannes, had a strong sort of reception there, is doing very well in from what we're hearing from these sort of press screenings that's been holding. If you've seen the movie, it's very emotional, it's clear, emotionally resonant, and very impactful versus Saint-Omer, which is a little bit more of an abstract, more artistic kind of a movie, versus Close, which is very much more, a little bit more down the middle in terms of its emotional impact, I think. And then also, you know, it's a Belgian film. It's close enough to French. I think a lot of people may even think of it as a French movie. So there'll be sort of a correlation there, a little bit of a bleed over, enough to still sort of add to that sort of French vibe that the Academy loves so much. Now, Best Original Song. My first prediction is going to be Black Panther for Wakanda Forever. The song Lift Me Up by Rihanna is a dedication to the late, great Golden Globe winning actor Chadwick Boseman. And usually when we're looking at this category, the most important thing you have to look for within the Best Original Song category at the Golden Globes is celebrities. They usually love to nominate celebrities, and particularly because last year they didn't have a show, they're going to want to nominate as many celebrities as they can in this category. It's an easy way to do it for them to hopefully show up to the Golden Globes, hopefully perform or maybe do something. Now that they're back on televised, have a little bit of a return, I think they're going to be more conscious of that. The voters are going to be more conscious of that than ever. So I think they're going to nominate a lot of celebrities. Rihanna sings this song, so I think, you know, the dedication to Chadwick Boseman, the Rihanna factor, she's very well liked and popular and respected artist. I expect that to get nominated. Top Gun Maverick is my next selection with the song Hold My Hand from Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga, of course, multiple time Golden Globe winner, one on film side, one on the TV side. Well-respected actor in the sense that, you know, she got nominated for House of Gucci last year when she wasn't really even in consideration at the Oscars. So the Globes like her, they appreciate her acting style. Top Gun Maverick, well-liked movie, sort of populist, big blockbuster of the year. Lady Gaga singing the song makes perfect sense there. Add it in. Then my next selection is going to be Where the Crawdads Sing, so the song Carolina, sung by Taylor Swift, once again another celebrity. This whole scandal with Taylor Swift and Ticketmaster has been in a lot of news, so people have top of mind awareness of Taylor Swift. Of course, she also released that new album, Midnights, so people are probably listening to that as well. I also think Where the Crawdads Sing was a secret box office success. A lot of people realize that. And I also think that movie will be well appreciated within this sort of Globes members. The film usually skewed older viewers, also skewed more female in terms of its viewers. The Globes have a significant portion of their members being older and female, so I think they'll be more partial to the movie Where the Crawdads Sing in terms of actually seeing the movie. And then if it's an easy way to nominate the movie and so celebrate that in some way by nominating a very popular artist in Taylor Swift, that makes sense enough for me to nominate it. Then my fourth thought, I have the movie RRR. I think, you know, of course, it's going to get nominated for Best Non-English Film, so I think it also has a strong chance to get in for Best Song. It always helps when a song is in a movie. This is a musical sequence within the movie, so it's memorable. So when you think of the song, when you think of the movie, you think of the song. It's not just an after credits thing that you're unaware of. And then my final slot, I'm going to go with Turning Red for the song Nobody Like You from Billie Eilish and Phineas. Billie Eilish, of course, is won the Golden Globe for the past for her James Bond song. And once again, another celebrity. They've nominated songs from animated movies in the past. If they like Turning Red and they're going to nominate it in Best Animated Feature, well then, the emotional climax of the last third is that song, so it has a connection within the movie. And the Globes have nominated Coco and Frozen 1 and Frozen 2 and Trolls. They've nominated songs from animated movies in the past, so there's no stigma against that. So I think Turning Red at least has a possibility to get in for that final slot. And if it comes down to having a celebrity or not, I think they're going to want to have that celebrity and try to get Billie Eilish to come. Then the final category here, Best Original Score. My first one is going to go to The Fabelmans, written and composed, of course, by John Williams, the legendary multiple Golden Globe winner, multiple Golden Globe nominee. They love him just like everyone else does. In another personal movie here with Steven Spielberg reuniting with his closest collaborator with this very sort of simple and beautiful piano score. Because I think they're going to like The Fabelmans and because they like John Williams, it should make sense just for it to get nominated here. Then my second pick is going to go to Woman Talking from Hildur Gudnadottir, and she delivers a really terrific score in this film and actually adds to a lot of the tension of the movie and plays a key pivotal part within the movie. Of course, she's a Golden Globe winner for Joker, where I remember that year there wasn't a clear winner. It was like, oh, I don't know, is it going to go to Joker? Maybe it could go to something else. And she sort of solidified herself as the frontrunner for Best Score. So I think they're going to appreciate her for that and want to nominate her. Plus, she also did the score to Tar. So there's a little bit of an extra added bonus of, hey, she did a couple great scores. She's had a great year. Let's nominate her. My third slot is going to go to Pinocchio. This is from Alexandre Desplat, who is a multiple Globe winner, 13-time nominee. He's also a composer who has been nominated at the Globes more so than he has at the Oscars, in the sense that, the past couple of years, Alexandre Desplat could have got nominated for The French Dispatch last year, or could have got nominated for The Midnight Sky the year before that. He got nominated for both those movies at the Golden Globes. He didn't get nominated at the Academy. So if anything, the Globes like him more than the Academy. They nominate him seemingly every year. And this year you have a great example in Pinocchio, a sweet score, a very sort of whimsical, light score that he's sort of traditionally known for and is great at. And this is just a perfect kind of combination of the style, but also his scoring style as well, the tone of the movie, but also his scoring style. Alexandre Desplat, well-liked person within the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. I expect him to get that nomination. My fourth slot is going to go to Babylon from Justin Hurwitz, who won for La La Land, but also won for First Man. He's a very well-liked person, as by his past two movies, both getting wins. He really only does Damien Chazelle movies. And if you've heard the one piece that they've released so far, and some of the trailers, it's a very jazzy, trumpet-heavy, drum-heavy kind of a score, add to some of that craziness within the film. It's a great score from someone who they really appreciate, who they really like. Let's not forget they gave him the win for First Man, even though he didn't even get nominated at the Oscars. They like Justin Hurwitz. They like his type of scores and what he brings to the film and how much of a character it is always in Damien Chazelle's films. So I think they're going to want to appreciate and nominate Justin Hurwitz here for Babylon, a movie that I think is going to do well here at the Golden Globes. And then in my final slot, I'm going to go with the Banshees of Inisherin. Let's not forget Carter Burwell also did the score for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and got nominated for that. Carter Burwell also has been nominated 3 times at the Golden Globes versus the Oscars. He's only been nominated twice. So there's a stronger appreciation at the Golden Globes for Carter Burwell, who does the score here for the Banshees of Inisherin. And I think they're going to really like the movie. So while the score doesn't necessarily stand out and scream in your face, that's something like Babylon does, it's still a score from a well-liked movie that I think will push it over the edge, where if you like the Banshees of Inisherin, you're just going to check it down on every case, and hey, it's Carter Burwell, and we like Carter Burwell, and it's probably a great score. Check it off anyways at the very end. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you comment below. I want to hear all of your Golden Globe predictions. Let me know if you've stayed this far, your thoughts and whatnot. I love to hear that. And stay tuned for Monday, where we're once again going into another sort of scheduled old Oscar countdown video. But this time, I'm going to give my thoughts and reactions to the Golden Globes and talk about what I got right, what I got right, and what I got wrong, and how that changes the Oscar race. All that fun stuff is coming up next. But if you don't want to miss that video, subscribe to the channel. That always helps as well. But that's about it. Until next time, stay tuned.